Good morning, everybody. We're going to take about one more minute to let a couple more attendees arrive, and then we will get started. Thank you. All right, good morning, everybody. My name is John Williamson. I'm with IHC Specialty Benefits, and we are looking forward to introducing our Link Group Gap Medical Insurance Plan to you today. And on the call with me today is Kim Carboni. She is out of our Boise, Idaho office, and we are looking forward to getting you up to speed on how Group Gap can help you and your employers save money and out-of-pocket expense. First of all, again, I want to say thank you, and hopefully with this product, we can provide some insight into how your clients can cut costs and out-of-pocket exposure. And Kim, I believe you wanted to touch base on asking questions and some housekeeping details like that.
Yes, thank you. We're going to try to keep this to under 30 minutes today. We know everybody is busy, but we'd like to have you ask any questions on the questions platform, and we will address all of them at the end of the broadcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And today we'll be taking an in-depth look at a case study on how this product is being incorporated into real-life situations, and then we'll get an opportunity to review the product a little bit in terms of greater detail, in terms of benefits, deductibles, some of the things that are going to be covered through this plan. And hopefully, if you have any questions, we can address those for you as well. So before we get too far into the discussion, I'd like to give you a little background on IHC. And within IHC, we own 3 insurance companies: Independence American Insurance, Madison National Life, and Standard Security Life Insurance. And on top of that, we have a variety of sales distributions, whether that's working through independent agents, general agents and MGAs, or wholly owned call centers. We have a ton of opportunity for you to work with IHC. One of the great things that we're offering right now is INSX Cloud, and that is an online ACA quoting and enrollment portal. Our individual short-term medical plans and some other ancillary lines are available on there. And if you haven't gone to an INSX Cloud webinar, I highly recommend that you take the opportunity to attend that. A lot of employers are being faced with some tough questions, and there is a possibility for individual coverage to help them out with that.
John, real quickly, we are doing a webinar on Friday on the INSX Cloud. If you have not received that request or you'd like to attend, please put in the questions that you'd like an invite to that webinar, and I can get that out to you at the end of this webinar. INSX Cloud also works for our group producers because we can create private exchanges for your employer. So it's really an exciting feature for us.
Awesome, thank you. And on top of that, we do have a couple other direct-to-consumer websites: healthydeals.com, petplace.com, where consumers can shop directly for our individual ancillary lines and things like pet insurance. So specific to our Group Gap product, if you've been on our prior group webinars, that was kind of a general overview. This will be the first one we've done here recently as an in-depth look at one of our products. And I just want to reiterate, this product is available for groups 2 and up, and it does need to be bundled with an ACA-compliant group major medical plan. That can be fully insured or self-funded, and on top of that, we can actually package this with our own self-funded medical plan if you were unaware that we had one for the 5 to 75 market. And with Link, there are 3 potential outcomes that we're trying to reach with a Group Gap plan. The first thing is we want to keep the out-of-pocket expense for the member the same with a lower overall cost once we add in the medical premium plus the Group Gap premium. The second option is we want to lower the out-of-pocket expenses for the member while keeping the cost relatively the same. The third option, which is what we try and accomplish on every Group Gap proposal that we want to quote for you, is lowering both the out-of-pocket expense to the member and the overall cost to the member and the employer. We've got a variety of plan designs that we'll discuss in greater detail, And we also have a lot of flexibility in terms of doing dual options, inpatient-only plans, even adding things like deductibles, and some other optional benefits that we'll discuss a little bit later. So now that we've got a fairly basic understanding of how the group gap plan works, what it looks to accomplish, let's take a closer look at how Link really interacts in a real life situation. So what we're going to show you here is a case study on an actual renewal that we worked on in fourth quarter, and we installed our group gap plan. So keep in mind, these are real numbers with the medical plan and the group gap plan that we're going to show you today. So this particular group was a 12-person paving company that had a major medical plan with a $1,500 deductible and office visits and drug card copays. The employer was struggling with the consistent increases they've seen year after year and decided now was the time to look at some alternative strategies like group gap to ease their financial burden. As you can see here, the employer's current employee-only rate was $542, and this year, going into fourth quarter, they saw that jump up 22% at renewal time to a total of $661 per employee. Now, obviously, most employers, they're expecting to see, a couple percent increase year after year, but not too many employers out there have the ability to properly budget a 22% increase in cost every year. So this employer was faced with a few decisions that they had to make. So the first one, obviously, do they move carriers and everything that's associated with that? If it's a level funded, we've got to get applications filled out. We know how cumbersome that can be sometimes. We've got to go through the underwriting process. We have potential network disruptions. So there's a lot of things going on that is associated with moving to a new carrier. And depending on the area, they might not have many, if any, great alternatives. Some states only have one fully insured carrier. So you're stuck with going through a self-funded plan and underwriting. You might get declined and you might be stuck with your current carrier. Secondly, do they take the increase completely and look to trim their budget elsewhere? They could maintain their budget, but they might have to cancel other benefits like dental, possibly vision, maybe their short-term disability plan that they've been offering to their employees. So, one of the things with that is if we're trimming the budget elsewhere outside of the medical benefits, could this potentially cost this paving company a new work truck next year? It very well could. So the third option is, do they drop their medical coverage completely? So a lot of times after payroll, health insurance might be the next biggest line item that an employer is facing. So it's a substantial cost, but it does come with a risk. If you want to drop your employee benefits, are your employees going to go look elsewhere? And then lastly, do they look at some potential strategies using their current carrier and medical plan? So with this particular case, the employer decided to take a look at option 4. What can we do within our current plan framework to implement some cost saving strategies? And the way that they did that was through our IHC group gap plan. So the broker suggested increasing the medical deductible from $1,500 to $2,500, and they made a couple minor tweaks to the office visit and prescription copays. When it's all said and done, they were able to realize savings on the renewal from $661 all the way down to $482 per employee per month. So we freed up about $180 per month by making these plan changes. And what this allowed us to do is to implement a zero deductible, 100% coinsurance group gap plan with a $2,500 maximum benefit. That cost was coming in at about $90.30 a month for the employee rate. So we took that $180 in savings, we cut it in half, and we've dropped their premium and increased their out-of-pocket savings. With this, one of the things that I want to point out is while we do have lower overall costs, since we only increased the deductible $1,000, we are seeing a $1,500 reduction in benefits by having that $2,500 group gap plan implemented. So with this particular option, we were able to keep the group with the current carrier to maintain consistency, and the employer is now offering a much more robust benefit package to potentially attract new employees and retain employees. So this helps you, the agent, out by offering a really creative solution, an effective solution, and it makes the employees happy. They're saving money in out-of-pocket, It makes the employer happy. He didn't have to go through the trouble of potentially moving to another carrier or adjusting their benefits any further. So great opportunity for you to come in and kind of look like a hero here. So now that we've kind of shown you how the group gap plan works in the real world, we want to break things down even further by reviewing several of our plan options. And within the Link product, we have 4 different sets of plans that are going to be available to you to quote. So we have Link Inpatient Hospital, we have our regular Link product, we have what's called Link Max, and then a Link HSA. Link Inpatient provides strictly claims incurred on a hospital admission basis and provides no outpatient benefits. So this is essentially strictly a hospitalization only plan. Regular Link is our traditional group gap plan that includes both in and outpatient services. If you quoted group gap with IHC, more than likely you've quoted plans through this particular tree. And within Link, we can add deductibles or offer things like a 50% coinsurance. Link Max is a new offering to us. We introduced this product about 2.5 weeks ago, and this allows us to provide a really affordable option for Link utilizing a 50% benefit while including things like generic prescription coverage and physician office visit coverage. And lastly, Link HSA is a group gap plan meant for HSA compliant group medical plans. What you're looking at now is a great breakdown of plans across all 4 sets of our Link product. As you can see here with the Link Inpatient Hospital Plan, we can actually offer a really generous $5,000 hospitalization only plan for employers looking to enhance their employer benefits, but doing so at a relatively low cost. You know, for example, the $2,500 inpatient only benefit in many states, that's going to come in anywhere from $16 up to about $20 to give you an idea on price. Link has the most flexibility with deductible options from $0 all the way up to a $3,000 deductible with a range of potential benefit amounts from $1,000 all the way up to $6,500. Link Max offers the option to include prescription and office visit coverage when combined with the 50% coinsurance like we mentioned earlier, and still retains an attractive price point due to that deductible as well as the 50% benefit. Link HSA is required to offer a deductible, but physician office visits are covered and would apply to that group gap deductible. With Link HSA, it's important to keep in mind that the deductible is for covered services only. So if we want the group gap deductible to compare closely to their medical deductible, I would highly recommend that we look at covering prescription medications as well. Otherwise, those 2 amounts, the prescription meds, might not be covered, so you could potentially incur a higher deductible on the medical plan as opposed to the group gap plan. And as you can see here, maternity is a standardized benefit across the board. We quote that on every group that we can, and we do have the option to offer mental health and substance abuse to our regular Link plans.
For those of you that have quoted the Link product in the past, we've made it much easier now to add that mental health substance abuse benefit to the plan designs.
Correct. So now for us, it's essentially checking a box and we're able to get that quote back to you much, much quicker. And lastly, with the 50% coinsurance options, I want to make sure we're clear on that, where we can only offer up to 50% of the employee's total out-of-pocket, and we will pay claims at 50% of the member's responsibility. So on a 100% plan, we're going to pay 100% of that eligible expense up to the full benefit amount. With the 50% plan, let's say we have a $5,000 total medical plan out-of-pocket, we would have a max benefit available of $2,500. So now what we're seeing are some of the most common benefits that you may be asked, are these benefits going to be covered by the group gap plan? Now, keep in mind, with the group gap plan, we're only paying off the member's responsibility as part of the medical plan. So if a claim is $1,000, assuming we're on a 100% plan, which is the most of what we sell, we would pay up to $1,000 depending on how large their group gap benefit is and how much we've already paid out. So if we've already paid out $500 in group gap benefits, they'll still be able to incur that $1,000. Let's say if they have a $2,500 benefit. So now we've used up $1,500 of our total $2,500 benefit. Now, if a member is not responsible for charges through the medical plan, let's say the medical plan covers that at 100%, think of things like a physical or a mammogram or a pap smear, or some medical plans have outpatient diagnostic lab and x-ray testing covered up to the first $500 or so. The group gap plan is not going to pay those benefits where there is no member responsibility. So this next page is a continuation of some of those common benefits you may be receiving questions on when you're discussing your group gap plan. So there's a few things that I want to make sure you're aware of, and as previously shown on the plan design slide, pregnancy is a standard benefit included on all plans, and it is mandated by the state in some markets.
And John, if it's not mandated, we need to make sure the employer is paying at least 25% of the premium in order to offer the maternity. If they want to run it as a complete voluntary benefit, then maternity would not be included. So again, 25% contribution in order for maternity to be included as a benefit.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's very important to note is obviously the more the employer is going to contribute, you're going to have those maternity benefits, and odds are your rates are going to increase as well. So aside from pregnancy, outpatient prescription drugs is probably the next biggest question that we get. And outpatient prescription coverage is available through LinkMax and LinkHSA. With both plans, you can elect simply generic coverage, or you have the option to elect both generic and brand name coverage. Physician office visits are also included under both LinkMax and LinkHSA as standardized benefits. And lastly, as we discussed previously, mental health and substance abuse is an optional benefit on Link, and it is included as a standard benefit on LinkMax and LinkHSA. Now, in terms of who can purchase the Link product, again, this product is available for groups 2 and above, and groups under 10 do require 100% participation. Now, keep in mind the employer, again, is going to need to have an ACA compliant, fully insured, or self-funded major medical plan. And beyond minimum group sizes, employees must participate on the group gap plan the same way they are participating on the group major medical plan. So if they're an employee only on the group medical plan, they can only come on as an employee only on the group gap plan. So if their spouse is on the medical plan or on their own medical plan, they're not going to be able to come on to our employer's group gap plan. And one thing that I do want to mention, we touched on it on the last slide, employer contribution does drive rates. So the higher your percentage of employer contribution, the better rates you're going to see.
And keep in mind, again, we're going to hit this, it does not have to be with our ACA self-funded plan. We can cohabitate with any ACA major medical out there with the Link product.
Exactly. So keep in mind, if you have a medical plan that's not going to meet our eligibility requirements for our group self-funded plan, let's say it's a 4-life group, or the medical is not going to be conducive to going through underwriting, we can still work with you on the group gap plan, incorporate that into another carrier's fully insured or self-funded program, and still help you save out-of-pocket expense and overall cost. Now, we've shown you how it works in the real world and what it can do for pricing and out-of-pocket expense, but we really want to discuss how Link works in terms of an actual claim incurred. This is probably the next, possibly the biggest part of the equation. A lot of people wonder, okay, this sounds great. We're saving money. We're saving out-of-pocket. I get a claim. What happens? So in this particular example, we have an employee that was admitted for an inpatient stay, and their major medical plan had a $3,500 deductible with a $1,500 coinsurance out-of-pocket. So their total out-of-pocket was $5,000. So the claim for that inpatient stay was $15,000. So we know the member's responsibility is going to be capped at $5,000, with the insurance carrier picking up $10,000. With our 50% group gap benefit, we're able to offer $2,500 in terms of our maximum benefit. So after we pay our group gap benefit of $2,500, the member is left with a $2,500 total out-of-pocket expense, down from $5,000 that the major medical plan has. So now, how do we get that $2,500 paid to the member? So when a member goes to the provider, they need to take their group medical ID and their group gap ID card, which comes in a PDF format. Now, the provider will submit the medical claim to the medical carrier, who will then process the claim and send payment back to the provider. Now, in addition to payment from the medical carrier is also going to send an EOB showing the employee's responsibility so they can send out an adjusted bill to the member. So with this, they will also receive the EOB and send it to us to process the group gap plan. Now, the benefits are going to be paid to the provider if the provider submits the claim. Benefits will be paid to the member if the member submits the claim. A member can submit a claim to us by using an EOB and an itemized bill from the provider. Now, obviously it's easy if the provider will submit that, but in the event the member does have to submit it, there are several ways that they can actually submit the claim to us. They can submit the claim to us for processing via fax, via mail, or online through the member portal by uploading copies of their bill and explanation of benefits from their medical carrier. So again, the fastest way to ensure payment is to have the provider submit the claim, and they'll receive payment directly from us for the group gap benefits. So we can really streamline the process, provided the medical provider is going to be submitting those claims. Currently, Link is available in 41 states, and compared to our self-funded product, we have Link available in about 18 additional states. And this expanded availability gives us a little more flexibility to help agents that work in multiple states, like an agent perhaps that works in southern Georgia and northern Florida. Our self-funded product, for example, isn't available in Florida, but we're still able to assist that agent with group opportunities since we do have Link available in Florida. And with that, I want to say thank you so much for attending today. Hopefully we provided a little insight into how group gap plans can be a great tool to realize out-of-pocket and premium savings with your employers. And with that said, Kim, I want to turn it over to you to address any questions that might have come through.
Yes, we do have a few questions. What is needed to get a quote, John?
So in terms of getting a quote, all we really need is a census along with dependent info included, as well as the plan design of their current medical plan. So what I like to encourage agents to do is if you're quoting a group medical case, the exact same information that you're using to quote that group medical case, send that over to us and we can run a group gap quote based off of that enrollment and that census data. And one thing to note, we do want that plan information so we know we're not over-insuring with our group gap benefits. So really, we just need to know what's the total out-of-pocket on the medical plan.
All right, John, we have another question about what size groups can we offer this to?
Again, Link is available for groups 2 and above, and it is guarantee issue across the board. So it's guarantee issue. We don't require 10 or 15 or 20 employees for it to be guarantee issue. It's guarantee issue from 2 all the way to groups of any size.
Okay, and the last one we have here is, does the employer contribution impact the rates?
Yes, as we stated previously, contribution does impact the rates. So obviously, the more your employer is contributing, the better your rates are going to be. And we have about 3 different contribution tiers that drive rates. So just keep that in mind as you're quoting. I know a lot of agents out there, when they're selling a group gap plan, they include that as part of their overall benefits. So whatever they're contributing on the medical plan, that tends to be what they're contributing on the group gap plan.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for attending and try to keep this under that 30-minute increment. I want to really address that we are going to be doing another webinar on Friday on the INSX Cloud platform. So again, if you're interested in attending that webinar, just shoot me in the questions comment to send it over to you. If you'd like a copy of this PowerPoint, please ask in the questions and we'll get it to you as well. If you've got any questions on the product itself and you're working directly with somebody at IHC, please go ahead and filter those questions to them, or feel free to reach out to John or myself. And thank you for attending, and we hope you have a great day.